Okay, so this part of the presentation is all to do with revision. Okay, you've got exams coming up over the next few weeks, which I'm going to remind you about in a minute. And I would say this is relevant for years 12 and for year 13. So don't think as a year 12, I haven't got my real exams until the end of year 13. You'll be tested, you'll have examinations, you'll have in-class assessments, practice assessments all the way through year 12. So it's really important that you're revising all the way through your 2 years at the college. Just a few reminders on this screen before I get into the nitty-gritty about revision. You can see we're currently doing real BTEC exams. So year 12 and year 13 students are currently doing real BTECs that are going towards their final grade. Okay, so it's really important that any students who are doing those, and they know who they are because they've been informed about the times and dates, they are doing that preparation over the next couple of weeks. Year 12s are going to be having some in-class assessments starting from next Monday. As it says from the sentence, that it's not going to be in the lecture theatre or in the sports hall. These are going to be assessments within class time and within the 55 or within the hour of the actual lesson. Year 13s have got mock exams or PPE exams coming up after half term. PPE means pre-public examinations. And then finally, just a reminder, I know I've written home to you about this before, but due to COVID, the government have decided to tell the exam boards that they are going to give us what's known as a heads up document or preparation document for some form of guidance for what will be in the final exams for year 13 for this summer. Now that heads up document is due to be with us in the first week of February, and we're not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but it might, for example, narrow down some topics or narrow down some units or focus some of the revision for the final exams for year 13s in the summer. Okay, so as I mentioned in the last section, there are just some basic overall tips for revision. First of all, you need to make sure you're prepared. You need to make sure that you've got everything ready. For example, have you got your content? Have you got your knowledge checks? Have you got your revision lists? If you are unsure about any of those things, then please go back and check Google Classroom. If you think you've missed a lesson, or if you think you're unsure on a bit of content, go back to Google Classroom where all of your lessons will be in chronological order. Or you can obviously ask one of your subject teachers or the head of department. When it comes to revision, as we've said before, making revision notes, cards and posters. A couple of interesting stats there towards the bottom. The most recent evidence suggests that 40% of a student's revision should be going over the content, okay, should be making notes, making flashcards, whatever it might be, and 60% should actually be practice, so going over past papers. And then finally, please don't be afraid to ask for feedback from your teachers. They'll always be on hand to give you feedback, to give you any pointers to how to improve. Okay, just a few things to hopefully ease the burden a little bit. I know it seems a long way off at the moment, but by the end of June, you will be able to relax finally, and you will definitely deserve your summer break before you go off and do whatever you're going to do next in your journey. And I know lots of you are probably feeling like this. You're feeling overwhelmed with information. So we're here to try and help you with that and try and break down the information as much as possible. And just an interesting stat that I heard the other day, as you can see today, a person on average is subjected to more information in one day than a person in the Middle Ages was subjected to in their entire life. So I know we're bombarded with emails and information, especially you guys at the moment, with regards to revision. So bear with it. We are here to help you as well. So first of all, when you're going through your revision, as I just mentioned, you've got to make sure that you don't have any gaps. You've got to make sure that you've got everything you need to cover your curriculum. Okay, if you're not sure what you need to do in order to revise or the topics you need to revise, please make sure you ask your subject leader or your teacher who's been teaching you over years 12 and 13. You can come up with what's known as a knowledge audit. All subjects now have these, actually. This is something that we have in history. and we hand out to all of our students. So it's just a list of all the possible topics that could come up in the exam. And we just say to students, just double check you've got notes on all of these different areas and different topics. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to do. Make sure there are no gaps in your knowledge. Now, once you've got your knowledge list and you know you've covered everything, then you need to start doing your physical revision. And you should always be doing something active. Revision isn't passive. You should be doing something all the time. So examples of this, as I've put on the slide there, would be spider diagrams, posters, post-its, revision cards. You can record yourself like I'm doing at the moment. There are loads of online tools, for example, on the BBC website. Make sure if you're doing spider diagrams, you use colour as much as possible. Use diagrams, use images. Please don't just read through your notes because it will go in one ear and out the other. You need to be doing something with all that information to make sure that you process it. Another really good tip that I've heard recently is wherever you choose to revise, make sure you clear your desk completely. And another good idea is whatever you're revising on that particular session, that evening or day or weekend, whatever it might be, only have the subject material or the textbooks or your notes for that particular subject in front of you. So if you're doing history, maths and geography and you're revising history that day, just have your history information in front of you. Move away your maths and geography until another day. Okay, so really get to focus on that particular subject. Okay, again, when it comes to revision, I know we've said this lots of times before, you must keep coming back to it, even if it's very briefly every few days. Okay, you've got to keep on revisiting it as much as possible. And we know that students find it particularly difficult to revisit things that they find difficult, that they struggle with. Okay, those should be some of the topics that you're coming back to even more often than the easier units or the easier topics or subjects. Again, I know I've shared this with you in many assemblies in the past. When it comes to remembering things, you can see that blue line on that graph there is if you don't do, it's a situation whereby if you don't do any revision or going back on any of your information, then you quickly forget things. You can see 10 minutes after lesson, 24 hours after lesson, a week after lesson, a month after lesson, things will go down to virtually zero of what's kept inside your brain. So what you have to do is keep on coming back to what you've been learning in class every few weeks. Okay, and then you can see it will slowly keep in your brain and you'll slowly keep all the information and retain all the information. That's why it's particularly important, for example, for year 12s, that even though you're going through lots of content at the moment, if you start revising that content very briefly every few weeks now, by the time it comes to year 13, loads of it will be stuck in your brain. Okay, so keep coming back to that information, even if you're in year 12 at the moment. Okay, another way of trying to retain information to help you revise is to follow the slide on the PowerPoint. So you can see a number of steps. You transform it, so you get all your information, transform it, for example, into a series of images. Then you reduce it. You can try and reduce your information, your pages and pages, into a few bullet points or into a small spider diagram. Then you can start to sort it into different areas. Can you have different branches coming off your spider diagram? Can you put it into tables, for example? Can you put it into different categories? Can you put it into different factors? Then you can also link information across units as well. As it says there, you might find some random links to link across your factors. Again, any help you need with any of these revision tips, please ask me. This is one of my favorite ones. It's just a variation on the spider diagram. So you have your unit at the very top there, then you break it down into 4 ideas, then you can see it's broken down into more specific detail underneath. So there's one, for example, on Star Wars that someone was doing for media. Okay, you can see Star Wars, A New Hope, episode number 4, broken into 4 main areas for their revision. And then those 4 main areas are also broken down even more into different characters. Okay, just helps you to categorize information and put it into different factors. So revising all the content is obviously really important because you've got to get all those bits of information into your brain. And I know, speaking as a history teacher, we have lots of content, lots of dates and specific information, lots of events and people to remember. However, again, recent evidence suggests that practice is the key. It's all very well knowing all that information, but you've got to be able to practice it in an exam condition. Okay, so as I've put there, please get your hands on past paper questions and answers. Okay, so you can get those from the exam boards, you can get them from your teachers, you can get them from any of us. Actually, we'll have access to all of those different practice papers, past papers, and also examiners' mark schemes. They're really, really important. And in fact, the bottom part of that slide, I'm just going to read through it, is actually a quote from a student. So they said, put down those revision cards and mind maps once you've learned them. There's no point going over something a million times. You need to practice using it. ASAP, start concentrating on past papers. Do each one at least twice. With each one, trawl through the mark scheme and ensure you understand everything. Again, there's that stat. When it comes to revision, 40% of your revision time should be going over the content, spider diagrams, writing, practicing getting the information into your head. Then 60% is actually practicing papers, past papers, as much as possible. Okay, and as I said, if you're stuck, then you can find out the awarding body, whether you're with, I don't know, Excel or OCR or AQA, whoever it might be, and you can just find the past papers online. Or if you get stuck, just ask one of your teachers or the subject leader for that particular subject area. Again, this is from one of our students 2 or 3 years ago, and they said, my big piece of advice I would give to everyone, and they put in brackets, I genuinely think this is the only reason I got A star in my English language exam, is to read the examiner's reports, then read them again. Year upon year, the awarding body makes public a document written by the people who are going to mark, in fact, and write your papers. And they tell you what they like to read. They also give you examples of what not to do. And this sort of draws it all together. As you all know, you're given what's known as target grades. Everybody's given target grades based on their performance at GCSE. Okay, and we all want you to hit your target grades. However, look at these 3 stages and I'll read through it for you. So if you only do the revision of your content, okay, so you're just reading through the information, the content, and doing your spider diagrams, you're probably not going to hit your target grade. Second point says, if you do all your revision with spider diagrams and you get all the information and content into your head and you practice using exam papers, then you'll probably hit your target grade. But the final point says, if you do both of those things and then after that you seek feedback, you ask teachers to say, to ask for a bit of feedback on how you've done well and what you can do to improve and develop your performance, we've found that those students will probably hit above their target grade. Okay, so think about that in particular. Again, just a few more final points from me. Try and study for short bursts, maximum 45 minutes. Have a break, make a cup of tea, talk to your family, go for a walk. Make sure you're exercising as much as possible. Eat well, sleep well. Avoid caffeine after 2 o'clock if possible. This is a really interesting question. So BBC did this a couple of years ago. Can you really revise while chatting online or having your phone in front of you? Quick answer is no. So avoid all screens at night. Try to put your phone onto flight mode or turn it off completely. It's no good having your mobile phone on silent because it still vibrates and it still lights up. You must get in the habit of getting your phone well away from you when it comes to revision. Turn it off completely for those 45-minute chunks that you are revising. Finally, a little bit about attitude. Try and be as resilient, try and be as strong as possible. We've had a really tough couple of years. We've got to really try and make sure we're thinking as positively as possible. Try and have that positive mindset. If any of you need individual help with study support or study skills or intervention, then please come and speak to me. My office is on the first floor of the college building. My office is called NF4A, and I can help you. I can sit down. We can go through revision timetables if you want to. We can plan out sessions if you want to. I can give you a calendar, anything like that. I'd be more than happy to help. And on that point, I do have some materials that you can actually take away. So if you want to come and collect some calendars to help organise yourself, I've got some big A3 posters where you can colour code revision. Then you're more than welcome to come and speak to me. Okay, thanks very much.